You have Nico Iamaleava and Brew McCoy visiting with the media yesterday, and we're accused sometimes of exaggerating to get a response. I can honestly tell you, believe me or not, everything we say on this show is genuine. When I talk to Caleb off the air, I'm like, do you really believe that sometimes? And he was like, yeah. And he's like, do you really believe that? Well, I really believe that Nico and Brew could be the best quarterback wide receiver combination in Tennessee football history. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to tell you why. 4 Downs, brought to you by Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com.
4 Downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
Downs. A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Okay, let's start with the obvious. Caleb, of all the guys, now this doesn't determine that they're going to be the best quarterback wide receiver duo in Tennessee football history, but let's start with the obvious. There's no question that they are, as a combo, every bit as physically adept as all the guys that we're going to talk about.
Nico and Brew specifically.
Nico and Brew specifically. And there's no doubt that they're the highest rated when you combine them out of the group we're going to talk about. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to have college success. Tyler Bray. So let's take a look at some of these guys and talk about why Nico and Brew can be better. By the way, Brew shredded. I think I mentioned that yesterday. He's lost like 12 pounds of muscle. Caleb, would you even think Brew had 12 pounds of muscle to lose last year?
No.
Now, I mean, somebody referred to him as a tank once. Well, if so, he's now a very lean tank. All right, Cooper, what should people do as we take a look at some of the greatest combinations between Tennessee's quarterbacks and wide receivers? Boom.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right, what down, Coop?
Coop here. First down.
All right, Caleb, how do you want to do this? Because we could go Peyton and Marcus Nash, or Peyton and Joey Kent. Do you want to consider them as one? Because I consider Kent and Nash to be kind of equal in terms of ability and talent level. Argue if you wish.
Yes, we're going to do, because we got a lot, we're going to do a down per quarterback, basically, because some quarterbacks had multiple duos. So, and then I with these couple of downs I'm talking about, I'll let you guys in the message board see if you want to put one of those combinations above Nico and Brew. Is that fair to say, Dave?
That works for me. And I'm going to go ahead and have the poll question up here in one moment.
All right. So first down, Peyton Manning, Joey Kent, Peyton Manning, Marcus Nash, or Nico and Brew. Guys, to me, for it to be a duo, it has to be both sides contribute relatively equally. And a great example of this, Dave, is to me, like, people will say, like, Magic and Kareem or Bird and McHale. Well, Magic and Kareem were an actual duo. You're a Celtics fan. Bird and McHale, not to disrespect McHale, but that was Larry Bird's team, and then everybody else was secondary, right?
True. Totally agree. Although I will say Kevin McHale, best back-to-the-basket player in the history of basketball. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the reason I bring that up is that
you should have said Kareem on me, but go ahead.
Oh, well, was he back to the basket, though? He had that sky hook. I didn't watch in the 80s. I wasn't alive. But, okay, so the reason I bring Manning and Kent and Manning and Nash into it is, guys, I'm sorry. Great respect to both of them and what they did. That was Peyton Manning. You could have plugged anybody in, and they would have had those yards when Peyton Manning was throwing to them during that time. Okay. They were just guys.
I'm not going to say just guys, but I will agree with you that it was very one-sided, and Tennessee probably has, no kidding, that's the other thing I learned from the Dante Thornton conversation is how deep they are, and we're going to discuss whether or not they'll actually rotate them, which I don't think Josh Heupel's style, but I agree with you completely. It was Peyton, and there are a lot of receivers that are currently on this roster that could have set records like Nash and Kent did if they had Peyton throwing them the football for 2 or 3 years. All right, what down up next, Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right. Casey Clawson and Kelly Washington. Not a championship, okay? So And a lot of people didn't like Kelly Washington. But if we're talking about ability, these guys had it. Now, Clawson wasn't a runner. Football wasn't like that at the time. So physical ability, Nico and a lot of these guys we'll talk about, Hooker, is more physically gifted. But for what they were asked to do, that was a very formidable combination.
Yes. And for those who don't remember, Kelly Washington missed the first 2 games of 2001 because he had to develop, as you know, Dave. He hadn't figured out the offense yet. The 9/11 hit and Tennessee already had a bye, so Tennessee missed 2 weeks basically. And in that 2 weeks, they went 3 weeks without playing a game, and they spent all that 3 weeks on getting Kelly Washington ready, and then he breaks out against LSU. And Dante Stallworth wasn't even there to take pressure off him, who's the guy on the other side, and he still, amidst all of that, had a 1,000-yard season. Kelly Washington was a rare talent, and Casey Clawson, for his time, the type of quarterback he was, also was kind of a rare talent. He had a really good arm. And
a great arm.
Yeah, he had a great arm. So the two of those guys together.
People like to say that he didn't have a great arm because he threw a wobbly ball. Some guys have such a strong arm, they're able to throw through a wobbly ball. So he didn't throw the most beautiful ball, but it landed in the right place. And the other thing about Casey, he got it out quick. Do you think Casey would be good in Josh Heupel's offense?
No, I don't. I think you got to have a little bit of mobility. I think Peyton Manning would not be among the top 5 quarterbacks in Josh Heupel's offense from Tennessee history. So
I think you're okay on that, and we'll talk about this another time. I think you're selling Josh Heupel short. I think he would alter his offense and adjust to somebody as long as they can get the ball out quick. I think getting the ball out quick is more important than running ability in this offense.
That's probably true, but also deep ball accuracy is crucial.
Very true.
But yeah, so I think Casey and Washington, that was a duo, and that was a legit duo. They were both very good. I do think Nico and Brew can end up being better, though. I do think they could end up being better. So, but that's the debatable one right now. Casey and Kelly in 2001 was, man, they were good. But again, the only reason I hold back is Kelly. There was help with Jason Witten in a dominant running game.
Right. So I want to be real clear here. We're not talking about yards at the end of the day. We're talking about defensive coordinators saying, "Dad damn it, I don't want to play them." Okay, so we're going to come up to 1, and I almost guarantee you that Nico and Brew aren't going to match the numbers. But think about just the scariest combination if you're a defensive coordinator, and that is on our YouTube page. Our poll question brought to you by Work Trucks, all about trucks, right truck, right place, right time. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. I'll tell you more about them, but let's get to the next one.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. 3rd down.
Ainge Meacham.
So what I said about Manning Ken and Manning Nash, flip it here. I think this one's kind of one-sided. I think it's Robert Meacham. And it's kind of like Ainge Meacham was the more modern-day version of Andy Kelly and Carl Pickens. Notice I didn't have them on the list because, let's be honest, Dave, that was 100% Carl Pickens in 90 and 91, wasn't it? And yeah, I think it's the same with Ainge Meacham. It's the same reason I don't have T. Martin Peerless Price on here. That was more Peerless Price than T. Martin. But Ainge Meacham was close because I had to put Ainge Meacham on here because Meacham set the school record for receiving yards in 2006, and Ainge set the school record for completion percentage in 2006. So you had to think they were both delivering, but it was Eric. I mean, it was Robert Meacham. That was all Robert Meacham, wasn't it? How many times you covered that offense with David Cutcliffe? How many times was Ainge just asked to close his eyes and throw it and hope Robert Meacham was there?
Well, I don't know that David would ever admit that, so I wasn't told that. But I agree with you. I think this is more of a one-sided affair. I think it was more Meacham and Ainge. But I don't want to sell Ainge short. I mean, I think he's, top 7, 8 quarterback in Tennessee football history?
Yeah, he is.
I mean, I don't want to sell anybody. I don't want to sell him short, for sure.
No, I don't. No, Ainge was very good and a very smart player later in his career. I mean, I will give him that. But in this situation, heck, Robert Meacham's best game was the game that Ainge didn't even play, LSU, when Jonathan Crompton was in there. And he threw 2 bombs to Meacham. Remember that? That was a close your eyes and throw it. Crompton wasn't ready for that moment, I think. No disrespect to him, but he was young. He didn't have a great game, but he had 2 bomb touchdown passes to Meacham where he just, literally closed his eyes and hoped Meacham was there to catch it.
Wait till we get to 4th down and wait till you hear my take. and this is no BS, but I'm going to pick one out of this group that I don't think that most people are going to agree with, because I do my work. I do my research, like work trucks, all about trucks that are actually available. Caleb, can you imagine trying to do your job and you don't have the tools right there to do it? That would be awful, wouldn't it?
That would be terrible.
Work Trucks has the perfect work vehicle where you can have all of your tools and necessities right there, and you don't have to go back and forth to the shop, and you can save money, because time is money when it comes to being a contractor. The process is quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for work trucks, cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app-hide work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, and anything special like cranes or dump trucks, work truck supplies, vehicles to people just like you contractors, and get you back on the road. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks with an X, and that's a fact. Service industry, Work Trucks. They can get you up and going. Clinton Highway in Knoxville, the trucks you have to have. Downtown Birmingham, the entire inventory at Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. You can just go right there and choose your truck. Proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. They'll make sure they fit your needs to a T. Work Trucks, the perfect vehicle you have to have. What down, Coop?
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
Hooker Hyatt. Now, this is why I stated earlier, it's not about numbers. Okay, if you want to say numbers, there's Nico and Brew there's no way they're going to match those numbers, those combination numbers that Hooker and Hyatt had. It's just not going to happen, because I believe they're going to be able to spread the ball around more. And I think that defenses are probably a little bit more adept at defending the slot receiver, and they weren't when it came to Hyatt. So, Caleb, how would you compare Hooker Hyatt to Nico Brew?
Well, and for 4th down, I had 2 Hendon Hooker ones, same way I did with Manning, Kenton, Manning, and Nash. The Hendon Hooker, Jaylen Hyatt one, yes, it was a duo, but it's really weird to say, Dave. It was largely a successful duo because of the guy we're talking about right now in this duo, Brew McCoy. Brew McCoy commanded so much attention, right, that it cleared space for Jaylen Hyatt to make plays in the slot. And I actually think that, so even though it was a combo, it wasn't like Hyatt was, people don't know this about 2022. Jaylen Hyatt wasn't the go-to receiver. It's
a lot
just
of times he wasn't, you're right.
Yeah, the plays ended up with the way the defensive coverage was. The plays ended up, he just happened to be the most open most of the time. I actually think a more impressive duo to me was Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman in 2021, where Cedric Tillman had over 1,000 yards, because Tillman was Hooker's go-to receiver, and he was looking his way. And so I know it's weird, and I'm getting into the weeds of football a little nuanced, Dave, but I think Hooker and Tillman was more of a duo, because Hooker, when he took the snap, he looked Tillman's way first by default.
On the message board, who was Andy Kelly throwing to? Carl Pickens. The reason we didn't include that, no offense to Andy, who we love, but we think that was even more one-sided than the other ones that we mentioned. The best, this is going to surprise you, the one that defensive coordinators would not want to face of that group, it's Casey Clawson, Kelly Washington. Right when they hit their groove, they were getting really good. And then Kelly suffered the neck injury in Georgia. To me, formidable physically when it comes to strong arm, when it comes to physical ability of receiver to get open, make plays in space, be fast. If Brew and Nico were like that, Tennessee's in good shape. I would take those two, if Kelly Washington stayed healthy, over the rest of the group. Am I crazy?
No, you're not. You're not. I want to answer this question real quick from Game No Bueno, because he said, but I thought Hendon only threw to the second read 16 times the year of Hyatt. You are right, but just because Jaylen Hyatt wasn't his first option doesn't mean he wasn't his first read. Jaylen Hyatt was his first read after he snapped the ball because he saw the coverage beforehand, because of the way the coverage lined up. There's a difference. We got to throw a couple others in here real quick, Dave. Tyler Bray and Justin Hunter may have actually been the most physically gifted duo. And, Justin Hunter had over 1,200 yards in 2012. But nobody remembers that because they went 5-7.
I would take Kelly. I would take Kelly over Hunter.
But what about Bray?
What about Bray? Bray's slightly more gifted than Casey. If he had an A+ arm, Casey had an A. Washington blew up the 2002 team even before the injury. He did create a distraction, but I could go ahead and tell you there were like 3 more bigger distractions as players on that team. That team had a lot of selfish players, so don't buy that narrative completely. There's something to be said for that, but if you had to place Nico and Brew among that list, do you think they'll be better than Peyton and whom he's throwing to, Casey and Kelly, Ainge, Meacham, Hooker and Hyatt, or possibly Tillman? Where do you think at the end of the year Tennessee ranks? Because I'll tell you right now, this is going to surprise you. I don't think they'll rank high as a combo, because I think Tennessee's going to spread the ball around, and we're going to talk about how Tennessee's going to play more wide receivers based off our interview with Dante Thornton Jr. But where Dante Thornton so where would you have them ranked?
I think they're going to be number 1. They may think, we'll talk about this, I don't think they're going to spread the ball around as much as people think, and I think now coverages are now more reacting to the slot than the wideout. So I think Brew is going to catch a lot of people off guard, and I think that's going to be the story there. 2 more real quick. I mentioned Justin Hunter. I also want to mention Tyler Bray and Derek Rogers were good in 2011, but they all, again, went 5-7, and Tyler Bray was hurt half the year. Just 2 last ones before we move on from this topic, Dave. This is the most overachieving, and I will use that word overachieving, the most overachieving QB wide receiver duo ever. Eric Ainge, Lucas Taylor. Talk about 2 guys who, Lucas Taylor should not have been a 1,000-yard receiver. And it's incredible that he is. But the first great quarterback wide receiver duo in Tennessee history, I'm just going to throw a bit of history out at you guys. The Swamp Rat himself, Dewey Warren, and Richmond Flowers in 1967.
Honest story. When I thought of this topic, I almost texted Dewey's daughter, who I know, to say who is his go-to guy, because I don't know the history as well as you do, but that's pretty darn good.
Johnny Mills in 1966 and Richmond Flowers in 67. Mills had more yards, but Flowers earned All-American honors in 67.
Pretty good. I was going to have to do some research to do that.